What's going on, guys? Welcome back. A video for you tonight. I'm pleased to be joined by Clint Oldenberg. As many of you know, I've been a gameplay designer with Madden for quite a long time. In going over a lot of the stuff from EA Play and going over a lot of the stuff from E3, it looks like the big change, at least from a gameplay standpoint, is the ability we're going to have this year to ID the mic. Now, this is something, quarterbacks have done for years at the line of scrimmage. Clint, if you add this in with the current adjustments that we have in Madden that you've brought to the game in terms of the line the past few years, can we finally expect to have total control of the blocking assignments of Madden?
In the pass game, you can. So ID the mic feature works only in drop back pass, and its intention is to give you guys the tools to pick up any defender that you want to block. In the case of last year, the meta really became nickel blitz 2 and all different permutations of that blitz. And so that's kind of where this spawned from, was if the default protection is having some issue where we're prioritizing the inside more than the outside, and that's consistent because that's how AI currently works. We want to give you the tools to change that. So if you want to block the nickel, you can spotlight the nickel via ID the mic, and then you're basically directing your protection to that guy.
Now, this can obviously have a lot of risk-reward. So have you guys built some things in there to try to teach maybe a more novice gamer, or maybe even, we've talked a little about the arcade mode or arcade setting that we may have this year. Have you guys thought about how you're going to introduce something that is a fundamental concept in football, but not really in a video game before? How do you guys plan on introducing that to the game?
Outside of, load screens, coach tips, and then obviously blogs and us being on social media about it, really the great thing about the feature is it's really simple to use. It's not as in-depth as real-world IDing the mic, because in our game we only have one base protection. In the NFL they have multiple protections, and IDing the mic means something different on all of those different protections. In ours, since we run a base 4-down mic protection, IDing the mic is just literally directing your protection to that player, whoever you want to be the fifth defender targeted, in its simplest terms. For more or less, it's a spotlight feature is what it is. So I think once people pick that up, it's going to be very easy to digest, whether you're a NFL knowledge-heavy veteran or a newcomer to the game just trying to learn.
And obviously going to bring a bit of strategy, although simplistic strategy, to it, if it's just going to be that one concept of blocking. To go into blocking a little bit more with you, I've done a lot of videos this year. It seems like, kind of carried over from the past few years, there's not much of an animation transition, or maybe not much of an acceleration or momentum change when you have defensive tackles that come off blocks. Have you guys done anything to try to alleviate that, the kind of that instantaneous sack? I know that you've talked at length, where if it really was truly an NFL time pocket, no one could play the game. We're not NFL quarterbacks. We're not making decisions as fast as a pro player. But to the same point, it seems like things kind of collapse in a hurry. Have you done anything in terms of those block shedding animations or transitions at all?
Yeah, we've tuned the game, so you're going to see a lot less insta-sheds out of the average rated player. What we did in pass rush this year is we wanted to make a real focus on making elite players elite. And so if you're playing with a J.J. Watt type of player, a Von Miller type of player, you're going to notice them. They're going to be a thorn in your side, for the entire game. Whereas, an average guy with the ratings maybe not as high as those guys is definitely not going to get an opportunity to do those, what the community likes to call insta-sheds. And we've tuned the game around that. So we're actually really happy with the way that pass rush is playing right now. You see the elite guys really showing up, and it makes you, especially in Madden Ultimate Team, it makes you want to upgrade your team. In franchise mode, it makes you want to concentrate getting the other players better up into an elite level, into that 90-plus, type of level is how we kind of consider elite.
And some things I'd seen you talk about in other interviews, wide receivers on run plays that struggle to find a blocker or struggle to hold a block, or almost an interaction where it seems like the cornerback and the wide receiver are working together in a way, even though they're obviously two fundamentally different positions there, in going away from a run play where the wide receiver doesn't understand he has to block and the corner doesn't understand he should be pursuing to a ball carrier. Is that something that you guys have been able to work on or fix?
There's actually a lot in that question there. I'll try to hit each point. So the first point was wide receiver blocking. I had mentioned in another interview I did with PX1 that we actually found a pretty major bug in wide receiver blocking that we had in the game in 17, in that the receivers, in some cases, thought they were still running a route when they should have been run blocking. And it was a deep kind of legacy issue that we uncovered, and we fixed that. In Madden 18 right now, the receivers are blocking almost too well. I could definitely see me getting some tweets or messages on social media about wide receivers being too good at blocking, and that may be something that we'll have to look at in the future. But it looks really good right now. In terms of the interaction, I think having that bug fixed leads to better interactions, because you have the blockers knowing where they're supposed to go and looking for the most dangerous man, but it also depends on what assignment that they're in. In some cases, on some run plays, we do have receivers who are in a run-off assignment, meaning they're going to run their route and try to sell to the defender that it's a pass play. And in those cases, he's not going to look to block until he knows his run-off is not effective. So that's still in the game as well. You're going to see that in a lot of plays. Lastly, the other point I wanted to make about blocking, not only with wide receivers, but just in general, anytime you're dealing with players who are moving, it's very difficult to predict where they're going to be on each individual play. So there are still going to be cases where a receiver is trying to block and trying to find a target, but he won't be able to, because we don't pre-can those outcomes. We don't tell a defensive back exactly where to go on every specific run play. They're free to run in locomotion wherever they want. And those cases will come up, and, like I said, they're difficult because you're dealing with moving players trying to get in position and a ball carrier moving in an unpredictable manner. And I believe that that's actually simulation football. Those things happen in real life. Those things happen in our game.
You had worked on special teams this year, from what I understand. Was this your first year working with special teams at all?
No, actually, it's a common misconception I get online quite a bit is that I only work on blocking. I think ever since my second year here, I've been here 5 years, I've worked on just about everything in gameplay. In fact, this year for Madden 18, outside of the act of throwing the ball or catching the ball, there's not a feature in gameplay that I did not work on.
Well, special teams is something I think I focused a lot with this year on my channel. I did some videos that talked about the way defenders' pursuit of the ball carrier and how maybe that's more prone to cause kick returns than the actual agility or speed of the returner. Have you guys addressed kind of that pursuit where the players tend to run to where the ball carrier is currently at rather than where he's going to end up being?
We made a lot of pursuit improvements globally. The focus was defensively, but you're going to get the same stuff on special teams. There wasn't a focus specifically for special teams pursuit, but the pursuit upgrades that we made will be seen there.
One of the other issues that a lot of people had struggles with this year, and I actually did a video on it based on feedback that AJ had given when Madden 17 released, was the kick meter. There didn't seem to be a way of really knowing when you got to the max kick, that the meter would just kind of fall back down and you would end up getting a kick that was nowhere near where you wanted to be. I've seen some clips that look like maybe that's been refined a little bit. Could you talk, is there a new kicking system actually in place, or you guys just have went through some of the interface and changed that?
It's actually the same system. It's just we added some visual helpers to the kick meter to make it a little bit more clear. And this is a good opportunity to clear up exactly what it is. So the one that you're referring to specifically is the wildly inaccurate kick, where you'd see your cursor line up far to the right from the accuracy window. And why that happens is you have to actually lock your power in at the top of the meter before the cursor hits the top. And if you don't do that, then you get a big accuracy penalty, because basically what we call it is an overkick. The line near the top, not quite to the top, but near the top, is actually 100% power. If you want just 100% power kick, you want to get it close to or right on that line. You won't have any penalty for that. When you go over that line, that's actually a bonus. You get a kicking bonus of 2% at any point over that line, but the risk is the cursor is going to come back faster into the accuracy window. So that's why if you don't lock in your power before hitting the top of the meter, you get that penalty. So now there is a red indicator at the top of the meter to tell you, hey, you don't need to go all the way up here unless you're really trying to kick this thing further than his normal distance. And there's also some text next to the line to tell you that line means 100% power.